Hello, this is Alex Calvo Garcia. You're listening to the Iron Hour podcast.
Right, Iron fans, thanks for tuning in once again to another episode of the Iron Hour podcast. We hope it's going to be a very special episode. So I'm joined by two of my usual panel. I've got first up Marco. How you doing, Marco?
I'm good. All about for being here.
Indeed. And of course, the fans' favourite, the People's Princess, Mr. Iron Army himself, Gareth Holden. How you doing, Gareth?
I'm good, thank you. Hope you're keeping well.
I'm doing very well. And we have three special guests with us today. First up, we've got producer, man about town, the current celebrity of no film, Mr. Pete Hughes. How are you doing, Pete?
Yeah, good. Thanks. Cheers for having me on.
No, thank you. Thank you so much. Producer Pete, as you're known to our listeners, I'm sure. And we've also got another man who's kind of the man of the moment at the moment with all the stuff that's been going on with the kit launches. We've got Mr. Aaron Cheeseman. How you doing, Aaron?
Very well, thank you.
Good stuff. And our final guest, drum roll, please. Okay. Well, final guest is none other than massive Iron legend, cult hero, the man who featured in that second kit launch video, Mr. Alex Calvo Garcia. How you doing, Alex?
Hello, guys. Nice to be with you all. Thank you.
If I can just start with you, Pete. So, you've been involved now in, at this moment in time, two kit launch videos have dropped for us. I don't know if there's a third. I kind of hope there is. How did this project come about, Pete?
First off, there is a third kit, but we didn't do the video for it. So yeah, we kind of had our time taken up, I think, with these two, didn't we, Aaron?
Yeah, definitely.
It's taken up so much of kind of loads of time, but we've absolutely loved it. But the project first came about just me and Aaron as creatives. We've kind of we've known each other for years. And we've always wanted a project where we can work together on. And the club was approaching its 125th year, as we all know, and we just kind of got chatting and just said, what can we do together to help the club celebrate that? So, and then we just got chatting and was like, well, loads of clubs release kind of retro kits and stuff for for these kind of anniversaries. Wouldn't it be amazing if the club did something like that and we could kind of create some video content for that? And yeah, we just got chatting and the rest is history, really.
And obviously the concepts for the videos, they're very intricate, they're quite well detailed. There's obviously the common theme of the VHS footage, which I quite like. How did the concepts come up for that, Aaron? And did they grow as you were filming?
They definitely grew because we didn't know who we was going to be dealing with, and it was a bit of a step into the unknown in terms of us working with the club. It's something that we've never done before, certainly not on that sort of level anyway. I suppose in many ways what we wanted to do was piggyback this massive wave of optimism that's been around the club over the past few months. You look around and the community is now fully involved with what's happening down at Glanford Park. And around the time that we kind of got the green light for doing the project, the club had announced this DIY SOS thing as well. And from that point onwards, it all kind of fell into place. It was like, wouldn't it be great if we got all these old boys back here and just had them doing odd jobs around the ground? So the home video, which is essentially the main one, that became the concept, and from there it flowed from there, really.
And what was it like, Pete, working with a lot of those ex-pros? Did you have any divas in and amongst them?
There was a few. Well, actually, no, they were great.
Well, he made a comment about his knees, didn't he? Because obviously he's down painting, and didn't he have a little moan about his knees hurting him or something like that?
Who was that? Which player was that? Are you allowed to say?
Martin Wolford or Richie Bennett to you, I believe.
Yes. Yeah.
He does look different now, to be fair, though, doesn't he?
Billy Sharp was one as well. Because the day
Billy Sharp confused us, didn't he?
Yeah, he kind of rocked up for he was like modelling the new kit. And he went and signed for Donny Rovers that day as well, the day that we kind of the day that we shot him. So it's a good job we didn't kind of film him in the kit. But then he was like, "What do you mean you want me pressure washing?" And I just think it took him a while to kind of like understand the concept and everything behind the film. So Yeah.
Hey, listen, Billy, we're struggling, mate. We need you to clean the car park as well. I mean, and then obviously, talking about moving on to the second video, Aaron, who came up with the idea then? How did the idea to get Alex involved kind of come to fruition?
Well, we were told at quite an early stage what that away kit would be. And I think everybody here can agree that when you think of that kit, you instantly think of one man. Um, and then also at a very early stage, we found ourselves in a room where Roger Rahman suddenly said, "You could go to Spain," quite flippantly. And
There we
but
go.
saying that to Pete is basically the golden ticket, because straight away, Pete was tunnel vision. We're off to Spain. There's no question about it, and that's exactly what happened. With regards to the concept, we knew that Alex was supposed to be coming to the UK at some point. So the part of the video where you see Alex in the UK was filmed first. I can't remember who it was we played that day, but we knew we was going to be very limited with his time when he came back to the ground. So it was like, right, what can we do that's going to line that up with some footage in Spain? So we came up with this concept of it's Alex Calvo Garcia essentially delivering the kit. I mean, it's just about as much of a replica football kit as you can get from that 99 one, isn't it? And therefore, it just seemed the perfect idea, just to almost as if he's delivering the old one. It's not, it's actually the new one, but it's so much of a replica, it works.
No, it absolutely does. And what a fantastic way to commemorate the 125-year history. Alex, a lot's changed at the club since you left, I think in 2004. A lot's changed. And obviously, we've had a lot of troubles of late. Alex, have you been kind of aware and following the troubles at the club of the last few years?
Well, yes. Since I left, I've been following the club because it's a place where we lived for 8 years, and I take it in my heart. It's a very important chapter in my life. There was some success after I retired. Obviously, the club was doing very well. They got to the championship, and under Brian Laws and Nigel Atkins, there were some very successful seasons. And all of a sudden, probably when Steve Wharton left the club, is when all the trouble started to happen. And obviously the last few years have been very, very dangerous, or very, very difficult for the club for Scunthorpe United. And I've been following all the way through with sadness from Spain, but it was a situation at some point where I think we all thought that the club was going to disappear.
Yeah, you mentioned there about Scunthorpe being a place that's close in your heart. I think you went on to write the book. Is it Scunthorpe Till I Die? How did you move? How did your initial move to Scunthorpe come about? Because obviously, you'd had spells at Real Sociedad B, and I think more the last club you were at is it Eibar?
Eibar.
So how did the move to Scunthorpe come about?
Well, I just finished my contract at Eibar, but I was there for 2 years, and I was looking for a move south of, to a club down in the south of Spain. So at the same time, I was talking to my agent. It was just after the Bosman ruling, and we talked about maybe looking for something abroad. And a trial at Scunthorpe United came up. I came over to England and had a trial period of 1 month with Scunthorpe United, and all started from there.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've got in my notes here that your first appearance was a 45-minute cameo against Scarborough in a friendly under Mick Buxton. Do you remember anything from that?
Well, yeah, I remember it exactly on the day I arrived to Manchester. Some guy picked me at the airport and took me to Scunthorpe. It was probably the longest trip in my life, because I didn't speak English. The guy didn't speak Spanish. We were just looking through the window and for 2.5 hours. and they took me to Scunthorpe Park and asked me if I would like to take part in a reserves game in the afternoon. So we went to Scarborough, and that was my first taste of English football.
And then not long after that, you obviously got offered your first contract under Mick Buxton. I've got a quote here. I don't know how accurate or flippant this is, but the quote says that on being offered the contract, you said, "I contract beer." Is there any truth in that?
I contract?
Yeah, so the quote here is you say, "I contract," and then beer. Let's have a beer.
I don't know. No, yes, no, I don't think so. Where is that coming from?
Well, it's actually coming from. Sorry, go on.
Yeah. Tell me. No, there's maybe there was some misunderstood with because the translation between the club and me, it was very comical in some kind of misunderstood with the language, obviously, because I didn't speak English. I had a translation from one of the director's daughter. We had a mistranslation with injuries, because they asked me if I had any injuries in my career. So if you translate injuries to Spanish, that is like people has been telling you off on the football pitch or calling you whatever, giving you some banter on the football pitch. And I said, well, being a footballer, you've got a lot of injuries, or we call it injurias, all over the football grounds, in everywhere. So that was probably the misunderstood that we had, and it was funny in the translation. But obviously, she meant whether I had some serious injuries in my career or anything like that. But in Spanish, it means another thing.
Yeah.
Also, I was negotiating with Don Rowan at the time, and when they offered the contract, probably I was asking whether they would pay as all after taxes or before taxes. That was one of the arguments when the negotiation was happening, because I didn't understand how English football worked in contract-wise, financially, anything to do with the inland revenue and all that stuff.
No, I can imagine it was a bit of a transition for you. Obviously, I think this is obvious, but it's what I've read certainly, that when you came over initially for that trial, did the club think they were looking at a striker and not a midfielder?
Yeah, that's true. Well, I had played as a striker for Eibar. For the last few seasons, I was playing as a striker. Basically, we were playing in Eibar. We used to play same kind of football we did with John Gale, a big front man, and I was just around the big front man. But I always thought my best position has always been a midfielder, arriving to the box, that kind of attacking player. But they needed a striker, so I came as a striker. And they very soon realized that I was not a striker.
You mentioned your time there at Eibar. Am I right in thinking that you actually played under the father of Xabi Alonso?
Well, yes, very much. I played with his father. Is called Perico Alonso, and I played with him in most of the clubs I've been in the Basque Country, because for one reason or another, every club I was at, he just came as a manager. So I played in Real Sociedad, I played in Beasain, another club, and I played in Eibar. All of them with Xabi Alonso's father. A great man, by the way.
No, and then so obviously once you've come to Scunthorpe, I don't know if it was your debut or one of your first appearances for the club. Gareth, you might remember this. It was the away 2-0 win at Hull. Did you subbed on after an injury on 13 minutes, and then obviously you must remember that one, Gareth. Do you remember that?
I don't remember that. No. My memory is shocking. I keep telling you this. You ask me things, and yeah, I don't remember anything.
So Yeah, it's one of the most famous victories against Hull. And you must have seen the footage at full time. The Hull fans kind of storm the pitch and bring like a corner flag with them and all kinds of carnage. Do you remember much from that game, Alex?
Well, yeah, of course. I remember. I remember it was my debut in English football, and I realized how fast and physical the game was. So I wasn't at the time. I didn't have that strength or that pace to play the English football, and it was like everything was flying. Like it was very fast for me, really. But there was a massive atmosphere, obviously it was a local derby, and I've got a mix of memories about it. It wasn't a very good game by myself, but it was my debut. I still remember it, of course.
And then obviously then in February '97 would have been when Mick Buxton left and Brian Laws got the job. Do you remember like a big change at the club at that time? Obviously, I think that kind of coincides with your transition back into midfield.
Yes, I think. Well, obviously, Mick Buxton. Mick Buxton time wasn't very. I mean, the club was not doing very well. It was struggling, and obviously the atmosphere when the team is not performing well is always a little bit dim in that way. And when Brian Laws came as manager, well, because he was first, he was at the club as a player, and he became manager, and he wanted to change a lot of things. He changed players, he changed the atmosphere, and he also took time to talk to, especially to me, because I was probably the most peculiar player at the time, because all the rest of the players were English, so he could communicate with them. He probably knew what they wanted from all of them, but for the Spaniard was there at the dressing room, it was like with language barrier and the situation I was at the time, it was difficult to allocate me somewhere in the team. But he was very clear with me, and he told me, "Well, I'm here. I'm new. It's up to you whether you can. You've got the opportunity to prove yourself that you can stay in the team." And he gave me the chance to stay for another year. And from then on, that pre-season, when I came back after the summer, everything was completely different. Not only in the club, also because there was a lot of changes in football. The football players has changed. A lot of the personnel has moved out, and some new people came in. And I was able to complete a full pre-season, and I felt more part of the club, really.
So it kind of links on, then moving on to that famous season, 98-99. We've just celebrated the 25th anniversary of that famous day at Wembley. But before we talk about the playoffs, over the course of that season, I think Jamie Forrester and John Eyre scored about 40 goals between them. And you would have been quite influential in a lot of getting those assists and kind of being involved in the link-up play. Do you remember much about that season and how good we looked offensively?
I think that season, the group of players that we got in the team, we gelled very well together. There was a mix of experience and youth, and it's always in football when things start to kick out properly. You get into a kind of a mood where everything goes well for the team, and I think that's where I remember from that season.
Yeah, it was an incredible season, and it culminated in the playoffs. Before we get onto the final, Gareth, do you have, I'm going to put you on the spot again, do you have many memories of the semi-final? You must remember this one, surely, against Swansea.
I do remember this one. Yeah, it was just one of those nights that you're not going to forget. You know, just everything about it, the build up to it, the fans, the flag being planted in the centre circle. You know what I mean? Just everything. It was just building up and building up, and then those 2 late goals by Sheldon that got us the victory. It was just one of those nights that that I do remember. You know, there aren't many things I remember, but I remember that, and yeah, it was just a magical experience. You know, and that was as a fan, so to be playing in it would have been absolutely amazing for all involved.
I mean, it was such a special night, wasn't it? Pete, do you have many memories from the Swansea game, from the Leyton Orient game?
No, I wasn't even living in Scunthorpe at the time. So yeah. I was born in Scunthorpe though, but my dad moved me away when I was like younger. So yeah. So I don't, unfortunately. So.
We'll have to explore that a little bit later on how you got to the club. But Aaron, dig me out.
Yeah, I mean, I went to the first leg. Was it the Vetch? Is that where Swansea used to play?
Yeah, it was, yeah.
And I always remember Cyril the Swan riling up the Scunny fans before the game. And I think that's probably what led to Matt Lillis doing what he did on the home leg, planting the flag in the soil. And that was the catalyst, wasn't it? That just got everybody going. And I think up to that point, we hadn't really seen anything of Gareth Sheldon.
No.
He almost came from nowhere that night, didn't he? But no, that was almost like the start of the upward trajectory for the years to follow, wasn't it? And all the success that came over the following 10 years or so afterwards. It was an amazing night.
It certainly felt like a sliding doors moment that night. I mean, it was just incredible. Alex, do you remember the atmosphere building up throughout the course of the week once the season had finished? Do you remember kind of the pressure and the atmosphere increasing at the club?
Well, I have to say that for you all English, that is probably very normal, that kind of semi-finals. I have to say that for me at the time, everything was new. I didn't know how the semi-finals and the final, all the stuff around Wembley, all that's how it did work in England. It was all completely new for me. And I remember before the semi-finals, the atmosphere, interviews with the media, and you could feel that there was something important that it was going to happen. But I was unaware of what it meant for people and what it meant to go to Wembley. I mean, for me, it was a final. Okay, it was a lower division final, and I didn't expect it to be so big. And going back to the semi-final against Swansea, I don't remember this thing about Mark Lillis, and I remember when he put the flag in the. No, I don't think he was in the centre half. I think he was in the. I think Mark Lillis. He's a funny character and amazing. He was a pivotal figure in the success that season, because the way Brian Laws and him managed the dressing room was really good. In the way that Marlins was very approachable, it was very funny. The training sessions were very funny with him, and I think he took the flag and he's got the balls to go all the way to the Wales end, and he put the flag in the box. No, I think it was a penalty kick. And I remember that time thinking, "Oh my God, I'm a Spanish here in the middle of a British war." But it was so funny. I think he set up the atmosphere for the night. And what happened after was, I think that semi-final represents what all the ingredients that you need for a semi-final. I mean, it was amazing. We started scoring the goal with Andy Dawson, and then going to extra time, and Gareth Sheldon coming in and taking us to the glory, basically.
I mean, it's just one of the most magical nights ever. Once the semi-final was out of the way, and obviously you've just said there you didn't maybe understand the gravitas of what the English football system means in terms of the playoffs and things. But when when Sky Sports are turning up and wanting to interview the players, and there's cameras filming your training sessions in the lead up to the final, did you start to think, wow, this could be special, this could be something big?
Yes, you realize that, but I didn't realize how big it was until we went to Wembley. That's when I really realized how big it was. And because I thought, well, it's a final, it's a special place, but I wasn't aware of how big it was. Not even at that time. I understood that something was happening because the preparation, the media, the interviews, but I was not aware of the dimension of the game.
Do you remember much about pre-kickoff? So I was only kind of 5 years old, but I do have memories of quite clear memories, it's quite vivid memories of the song that was being played as the players walked out. So it was Fatboy Slim, Right Here, Right Now. And I remember the inflatable footballers kind of waving around all over as the players walked out. I remember it just being ridiculously hot. And my mum telling me every minute, well, make sure you've got sun cream on, put your hat on, get your shirt back on, what are you doing? I just remember like it felt like a carnival atmosphere. Do you remember it similarly, or is it kind of a bit of a haze before the game?
Well, no, it's true. I mean, exactly the atmosphere was that. I mean, when we talk about Wembley, the atmosphere was exactly like that. I remember the crowd so colorful, and the day was a beautiful sunny day, very hot, but the atmosphere was amazing. And you could, and at the moment when you get into the football pitch at Wembley with the music and all those things before the kickoff, make you realize how big and how could I say well organized football wise is for because it's normal to see that in a Premier Division club or at that level, but I've never seen it in a lower division competition, just to have this kind of atmosphere and preparation for a final.
No, I think it says a lot actually about in England, we do have a very, very competitive professional structure. You know, as you say, right down to, I mean, even now, right down to the sixth tier, you're getting crowds of plus 4,000. It is ridiculous, really, how kind of lower league football is received over in this country. So the game kicks off. It was a frenetic start to the game. You know, obviously we remember you scoring so early on. I think it was the 6th minute, but so much happened actually before that goal. I seem to recall, and I've since watched the game back, I remember there were kind of 2 chances. We had a chance, they had a chance really quite early on in the game. And as you know, we've just mentioned, it was hot. What did you are you thinking about the game management at that point? Are you thinking about, oh, if this is the pace of the game, we could be struggling here? Or what do you remember from the early stages of that game?
Well, I think that's you know, being a final at the place we were at, and once we came in, you know, after the music and all that stuff, the game starts on, and I was thinking, oh well, this place is amazing, and I remember thinking about to myself, well, if they want to beat us today, they will have to kill me. And you got to, you know, you get going by the flow of this atmosphere, and the tempo was really high. It was very hot, obviously, but you don't think about that. You just give your 100%. We knew that if you lasted for 45 minutes, you got another player to come in. If you lasted for 60 minutes, you got another player to come in. It was not only our final, you know, the 11 players. It was all of us on the days. It was the dressing room. It was the players that were on the bench, the players that were not even, they didn't change that on the day, but they were part of the team. And the final is everyone's. It's not only the 11 or 12, 11, 13 players that played.
I mean, look, can you just do us the honours of talking us through the goal, Alex? Can you talk us through Sheldon picking the ball up on the wing and what you remember?
Well, I remember. Well, this is true because That season I was feeling very confident, and when you play football, sometimes you think, oh, you are in a high or you are in a very low mental state. That season for me, it was quite a good season. I was getting into the box, I was scoring goals, and I knew that mostly every game I had one or two chances throughout the game. So on the day at Wembley, I told to Jane, the dietitian, I told, well, if I've got a chance, I'm going to score a goal. And she told me that she had dreamed that we were going to win 1-0 and I was going to score. So everything was set up for the day. But I was so confident that I said to my wife as well, if I've got a chance, I'm going to put it away. And I was with that confidence. And after the first few minutes, seeing the atmosphere and all that, you are in a high. Your motivation is from another world. It's amazing.
So when that ball comes in and you make that kind of late run into the box, you managed to get your head on it. Did you know the moment it kind of left your head? Did you know it was going in?
Well, I think I've told about the goal so many times. But as soon as I hit the ball, I knew it was in, because the angle I was seeing it, and think, oh well, it's going in. It's going to the far post. And Gareth's cross was really good. It was to be Gareth, because he was, at the time, he brought some new tempo to the team, because obviously we had played maybe 40 something, 50 games through the season. The legs are tired, and Gareth brought a little bit of fresh air to the team.
It was just incredible, that moment, that goal, and it was special there actually hearing you describe it and talk us through it. Aaron, do you remember the pandemonium when that goal went in?
I remember bits. Yeah, I absolutely remember celebrating the goal. I don't really remember, in terms of incidents, I don't remember a great deal. I just remember it being a slog. It seemed like the longest game of football ever from that point onwards, as it did with Millwall, but for very different reasons. But 1-0 from such an early stage, and like you say, the game management from that point onwards on such a hot day. Yeah, that was like one of the longest game of football I think I've ever witnessed.
Oh, it was incredible. Like I say, I watched the game back recently on the 25th anniversary, and I do remember this, but it really did cement a memory for me, Alex. And it was just that second half just felt like we were under constant fire. And Tommy Evans and Russ Wilcox probably had the games of their lives that day. They were heroes, weren't they?
Exactly. I mean, this is how unfair is football. I scored a goal, I took all the glory and attention. It's good. But if you look at the second half, the determination of every single player on the pitch, it was amazing. And how we stuck together and we fought for the game is amazing. And I've seen the game not many times, but I've seen it. I think the last time I saw it, it was when the COVID, the pandemic, when we were locked. I think it was the 20th anniversary, and I saw the game, and I remember thinking, wow, because the football you see now is different. You say, oh, it's awful. How we play football. But it was more a final. In that case, is more about commitment and heart and determination than playing good football. I think we played a very good first half, and obviously the second half paid the toll, and we were struggling to play attacking football. But how we stuck together and we fought for each other, it was amazing. I think not only the people on the pitch, I think everybody at the football ground, every Scunthorpe supporter was pushing us for the victory.
Absolutely. And look, we do hold on. Final whistle goes. Do you remember, what was the feeling? Was it relief? Was it excitement?
Well, it's impossible. I mean, if you have I don't know. Most of people has played football and they know what it feels like scoring a goal. But if you describe what it feels to score a goal at Wembley with such an atmosphere, with so much joy for so many people, is just beyond what I had ever dreamed. It's just amazing, the relief that you feel. Obviously, for me, it's before the final, and especially the first year, it was very difficult for me and my wife to adapt to England, to the language, to the country. So being at Wembley, winning the final, and all those things that were happening, it was like they were even more tasteful than if it was another case.
Gareth, there was 12,000 Scunny fans there at Wembley that day, I think. Was you one of them? I hope so. I hope you have a memory for me.
I was, and I'll just say, when Alex scored, obviously it was pandemonium. I stood up on my seat and slipped in doing so in the celebration. And I remember grabbing out so I didn't fall backwards and grabbing hold of my, at the time's, wife's hair. She had a ponytail, and I yanked her hair so I didn't fall backwards, but pulled her backwards, and I stayed up and she like crashed down into the seat. So that's my one big memory that I've got of the day, giving her a bit of pain. But yeah, it was just like, yeah, well, that's what happened. I can see Barrett there holding his head in his hands, but yeah, that's what happened. But it was just one of those days that was just special, that goal going in. It was just like, what? It was so early on as well, and just to hold on, like you said, the second half. It was a bit of a bombardment, really. Leyton Orient just went for it. They didn't have anything to lose, really. They had to get back into the game. It was just that defending, just kept us in it. And yeah, Tommy Evans pulling saves off, the blocks going in by players, and we came out 1-0. Happy days.
Happy days indeed. I mean, look, Alex, you'll always be remembered so fondly by any Scunthorpe fan for that day. But you had such a good career at the club. If there was kind of a moment towards the back end where you knew it was kind of winding down, do you remember kind of a moment where you thought it was probably time to hang up those boots?
Well, yes. I retired when I was 32. I was 2004, I think. But because I had spent at the time 8 years with the club, and I had enjoyed so much, and I felt that it was time to come back to Spain, not to play football. I had very clear, and I had always thought that I wanted to stop playing football when just before football leaves me. I don't know how to express that, but
yeah,
it's just like I didn't want to be, dragging myself around from one team to another club, and because I had such an experience and I enjoy football so much at the Scunthorpe United in the 8 years that I spent over there, that I wanted to stop with that taste. And I look back now, like 20 years after, and I feel really relieved by it. I stopped at the time that I had to stop, and I look back now and enjoy every single moment. I've got no regrets about anything that or anywhere I play with, or any club I play with, any person, any manager. I remember every single person I got involved with very fond memories, and yeah, it's, maybe you think at the time in England 32 is a young age to retire, but we had to spend 8 years in a different country. We had 2 children, and maybe it was a time to leave. And just afterwards, how the club performed afterwards, it just proved that it was correct.
I tell you what I do remember from the time when you retired. I remember kind of the confusion when you announced your retirement. I seem to have a memory of that Brian Laws didn't even know that you were going to announce a retirement, and it kind of caught him blindsided.
Yes, I mean, well, I said I didn't have regrets, but this is probably one of the things I regret. When you play, I started playing football, well, when I was a kid, maybe, you know, since I got memory, I've played football, and you play football throughout your career, and nobody tells you, or nobody teach you how to retire. And it's a stupid thing, but I mean, I don't give it so much importance now, but because it wasn't meant to be that way, or didn't mean to do it. Oh, I don't want to speak to somebody. No, it's just like I didn't know how to retire and say, well, once I had made my mind up, instead of telling my manager, which is the right thing to do, I told it to some interview. I don't know who was I being interviewed from. I don't remember who was, but I was given an interview and I said that. But obviously, if I had to do it again, I would do it in a different way. I would speak to Brian, because Brian had been a very good manager with me. 8 years with him. It was probably the best time in my football career has been under Brian Laws. And I always remember, and I will always take Brian in my heart for that, because throughout the 8 years, I enjoyed my best years in my football career. If I had to do it again, I would do it again. I would do it differently. But I know there is no other chance to retire again. So, but it's like just something not so important now, but at the time I understand that yeah, I should have made it. I should have done it in a different way.
No, these things happen. We all learn, don't we? I wonder what it's like being you, Alex, knowing that, I don't know what life is like for you in Spain, but knowing that in a very small town in the north of England, you are an absolute hero, an icon, a legend. People talk about you on a weekly basis. You've got that kind of like cult hero status. And maybe in your homeland, in your hometown, you don't even have that kind of level of acknowledgement. I wonder how weird that is, knowing that in some small town a long way away, you have this crazy status.
That's something funny, really. I'm a normal person over here. Well, obviously, in San Sebastian, in the area, football wise, people know about my career because it was something different at that time. I was the third Spanish player to go to England. So people that is involved with football know me and they know my story. But most of people, I mean, I'm an anonymous person, really. So that side of me, where in England I'm popular somehow, is very strange, because I go there, I can feel what people of footballers at higher level feel when they ask them for autographs. They feel famous and all that. That's given to me in Scunthorpe. So if I need to cheer up my ego, which I said to my wife, my ego is completely full now. I don't need any more. Just if I feel down, I go to Scunthorpe, and the people cheers me up, and they just raise my confidence and my ego. But in the normal life here in San Sebastian, I'm a normal person. I'm a very quiet person as well. So I think it's perfect because I don't have to live with that. If you are very famous, like a top player, maybe you are not able to do many things that you do anonymously. I've got that. So I've got the best side of both worlds. So.
No, I mean, it's kind of the evidence of that would be when you came back last season and the reception you got in front of the
amazing.
fans. It was crazy, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's amazing. That's what when in 1996 you started singing one song that I think you've done this season as well. Football is coming home, and when I listen to that song, I say it's correct. I mean, it's your game, and the way you live the game and the way you create the atmosphere around the game is amazing. And I was talking to Pete and Aaron when they came over to San Sebastian. Because you are in England, you might don't realize how how big. Sorry, you don't realize how big you make the game, or how important it is for players to have such a connection with fans, with supporters, even in the lower divisions. This something that doesn't happen anywhere in the world. So only happens in England, and that's why I'm very. I try to tell people that we have to protect it. And when I've seen Scunthorpe United struggling in the last few years, I was really hurt because you see that the lower division, more clubs and more clubs are struggling. But the reaction of people, how people react in lower divisions to protect the football is amazing. And you probably don't understand it because you live in the country. But watching it from outside, we've got a different perspective. And you see how immense is football in your country.
It is immense. It's something we care about an awful lot. And Alex, the people of Scunthorpe care about you an awful lot. We'd just like to say a big thank you for giving up your time today to speak to us. And of course, a huge thank you for all of your years of service for Scunthorpe United. As I say, you are the club legend. You're one of our discussional topics that we talk about almost weekly, as I say. So thank you so much, Alex, just for being you, and thank you for joining us today.
Okay, thank you very much to you all. It's been a pleasure. I just want to thank Pete and Aaron for the work they've done. It's just amazing. I just wanted to point out that I've seen the videos, and especially the first video. I think it represents the storyline, represents what has happened to the club. It's like I've been thinking about myself. How do you interpret what is happening in the video? And you see legends like Ross Wilcox, Torpy, all people involved in the club. In the video, you see them nurturing and looking after the club as a patient that has come from intensive care. And it's amazing how you have broadcasted that image of the situation of the club. And the job that you've done is amazing. I'm very proud that you have considered me to be maybe an important part of the videos, but I think you've done a great job. I just really wish that this helps the players to have a good season and understand how big for the community is the club. Obviously, maybe it's going to be difficult to get promoted. We know it's going to be difficult, but I think we have to be patient with the club. We have to be patient with the players, and we've done the most difficult thing, that is saving the club. And all supporters in Scunthorpe, they've been immense with the club, and how they reacted is just something touching, really.
Well said, Alex. Pete, lovely words there from Alex to you guys. Anything to say?
Yeah, thanks, Alex. Me and Aaron were just saying, we've been talking about the project ever since, we got back, and we just want to say thank you to you as well, kind of the days we spent together in San Sebastian, kind of you showing us all the, taking us to all the tapas bars, and yeah, just kind of showing us round is just, it'll live with me forever. So thank you for your hospitality, and I don't know if you want to say anything, Aaron.
No, just to echo what you just said, mate. I mean, we expected Alex to give us one day of his time to get that filming done, and he actually gave up all 3 of the days that we were there. and without his knowledge, we would have been really struggling to figure out what direction we was taking that video. So not only did we get a tour of the beautiful San Sebastian, and it is absolutely incredibly beautiful, but we got to put together what we felt was a pretty good video for you all.
It was an incredible video. And one thing we'd like to say as well on behalf of all the fans is we know that Pete and Aaron, you gave up so much of your time and personal expense. You know, you made a lot of sacrifices work-wise to make this project happen for the club that we all care and love. So thank you genuinely and sincerely from the bottom of our heart. Like, thank you so much. It's incredible that you did such a thing. And of course, getting Alex involved was a real touch of class. But actually to have the humility to give up your time and as I say, at the expense it's cost you. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you. No problem at all.
So that finishes it then. What a fantastic hour we've had there with Alex and Aaron and Pete. Thank you so much for tuning in to the INL podcast. Marco, sorry, I didn't really didn't get to say much today.
Feel a bit of a passenger, but no, it's so nice to hear. Obviously, the work that went in on making the videos, like as echoing what Barra said, just absolutely amazing. And I mean, the numbers on the videos and the comments and the love that everyone's giving just says it all.
And Gareth, just one final thought from you. Obviously, you are a man who's got your ears to the ground with the fans. What's kind of been the consensus with these two videos?
They've gone down really well, haven't it? Everybody's loved them. There's been a lot of positivity. I know I went to the Winterton game with Pete, and he was getting loads of plaudits. He didn't quite like it. He's, shy. didn't want to take it all in, but he got them anyway, and they were well deserved. Him, Aaron, Mitchell as well. Yeah. Went out there. The three of them did a fantastic job, and it's just been loved by the fans up and down the country, even opposition fans as well. Fans of other clubs have praised it as well. So it's gone down really well across the football community, I feel. So thank you.
Thank you indeed. And
I'm sorry, Barra. I have to tell something to Peter and Aaron. The three videos. You have not asked me what is my favorite clip.
Go on.
When Steve Warden asserts Michelle. Yeah. I think that is amazing. That clip.
I think
how it's like saying, okay, we've got the right custodian now.
Yeah.
I think it's amazing.
We had to push.
This is what we spoke about. Yeah, this is a lot of what we spoke about. It was in Spain, wasn't it? That it actually feels like under Michelle and the board, we feel like we have got the right custodian for the club now. We spoke about it at length, didn't we? And I think taking it a chance to speak to you as well when we was on that massive hike, on that long hike the second day when we took the dog for a walk.
Yeah, well, I think that moment summarizes what has happened to the club, and what we've been looking for is the right custodian.
Yeah.
So we need to be patient now, because obviously, if you've got the right custodian, whatever happens, she can make mistakes, the board can make mistakes, but this, because they are the right ones. That the intention or what they mean is good. They can fail, obviously, but
we're on the right
mistake. Exactly.
I think that clip as well was like we knew we wanted to get Steve Wharton, didn't we, Aaron, into the video, and then we was like Aaron said when we did the interview earlier in the week for the radio. It like bookends kind of Michelle and Steve Wharton kind of bookends times at the club, but we didn't anticipate how well that would go down with the fans, did we, Aaron?
No, I mean we didn't know who was going to get in to do the project, so we didn't know exactly who was going to be in the final home video, but we knew we definitely wanted Mark Lillis planting some sort of a flag. We knew that. We knew we wanted Steve Wharton with this kind of nod of approval towards Michelle. And we knew that really we wanted Brian Laws in there somewhere as well. everything else was kind of up for grabs. Like we just didn't know who was going to come through the door. But so we were so happy when we did get Steve Wharton, and we actually filmed a Steve Wharton clip, Alex, on the day that you came.
Yeah.
So that's it then. Thanks for tuning in to the INL podcast. Thank you once again to Aaron, Pete, and Scunthorpe United legend Alex Calvo Garcia. Until next time, up the iron.